All right, good morning. Happy Sunday. I guess we're going to call this an unauthorized transmission, but anyway, it's a Sunday morning, and I thought it might be fun to hang out again. I was looking through sort of like my list of different live streams and videos, and I realized that, I haven't hung out with you guys on a weekend morning in literally months. So it seemed like the right time to do this. I do like doing them. My house is super quiet right now. It's just me down here. And so, yeah, why don't we hang out and do some stuff? First of all, some of you have been in the chat already. Good morning to all of you. So good morning, Steve M. Anderson, Chris at Go Veer, Go Home, Chris May, RDGK1, James at Dundas, Pine Valley Railroad, Steve being an iron worker, Buzzragog, good morning to you. And yeah, that seems to be, oh, I run games and trains. Good morning to all of you. And Smith of Gear, good morning to you. And so the last couple weekends have been actually pretty great. If you follow Go Veer, Go Home, and maybe you took a look at some video that he posted this past week, a small group of us from the Southwestern Ontario area got to get together and hang out for a weekend. I think we probably traveled what felt like about 500K, and we got to tour around, we got to visit some layouts, we got to go to some hobby shops, and we had a little secret mission to go take a look at some Via Rail and Ontario Northland trains up close. That to be disclosed later. And the takeaway from that, it was a lot of fun, and I thoroughly recommend people getting together in person with other people in the hobby. I realize things like this is a great way, the streaming is a great way for us to hang out a little bit, and that is perfect. Like, I like that. But it was great to visit a bunch of different layouts and hang out with people in the hobby. And so I think the key takeaway there is a little bit of in-face time is really quite worth it. And it's motivating. I got to see, I think, about 5 or 6 different layouts over the weekend, and got to see how everyone approaches everything differently. And it's inspiring, right? Like, it sort of makes you want to come back down to your corner or your hole or your basement or whatever, and work on what you have. And so to that point, so with that, I was like, okay, that's it. Going live Sunday morning, and I need a project. And so just yesterday, I was touring around a couple of the layouts because it was an open house weekend. And you'll forgive me, I don't remember. It was like Haldimand County and parts of Hamilton and such, and I forget what it was called. But anyway, I was like, I need a project, and so I stopped by a local hobby shop. And I actually had just seconds before that run into Chris at CP Whiskey Creek. We went to the hobby shop, and I was looking for something. I made the drive, I might as well pick something up. And so I decided to get Pike Stuff's Diamond Tool and Engineering Kit. The kit was reasonably priced, and I have a little spot on the layout near my passenger platforms that I thought this might be a nice little kit to add there. I'm not being too precious about it. It's just like, I have a spot, I need a kit, I'm going to throw it in, I'm going to make it work. And so what I've decided this morning is that I don't like the look of it, and I'm going to work through trying to repaint it with you. And again, not trying to follow a prototype. I just don't want a white and light blue building. But the footprint of the building's good, the structure of the building's good, so that's where we're going to start. And so this is the kit, and really quickly last night, I took the kit, which comes in this sort of soft blue color, and I either gave it a shot of just regular standard gray primer, and on the roof, which had been white, I gave it a really quick shot of black, and then this is sort of an aluminum colored paint. And so this is the starting point for the corrugated steel, and I put that color onto all of sort of soffits, ridge vents, a few other little bits, and everything else got the tan color. And so what I'm thinking is that I'm going to now paint the walls and the doors. Oh, I painted that one upside down. I'm going to paint the doors and the walls a little bit. Douglas Albert, is it just me, or is the video contrast off today? Is it feeling blown out to you? Is that what you're saying? because there's ways for me to do things about that. Let's see if I can run the brightness down. Low contrast, okay. Let me see, does that look any better to you? If not, something I'll probably have to fix a bit off camera. Just not as sharp as usual. Okay, good to know. Nick Palmer, I will say that I had to update OBS. I had to update OBS Studio, which is the benevolent software that controls all of this, and that potentially means that things aren't working as well as they might. Good morning, Chris May. And so thank you, Nick Palmer, and good morning, Chris May. Okay, so let's get back to project at hand. So what I want to do is I don't want this blue color. I realize that this is sort of an aluminum steel clad building. And I've been thinking about this, and I want these to be sort of a taupey green color. And I want the aluminum roofs to be, or tin roof to be, or galvanized roof, I suppose, to be a lot more muted as well. So this is just me sort of making it up as I go along, trying to figure out different colors and techniques to turn these wall panels into what I want. Now, this is the first time ever working with this kit, and I will fully admit that I found the kit instructions to be a little thin. And so you come with the wall sections, which there are two ends, which you can combine any way you want. There's two ends and two sides. It comes with an option. You can see these score marks to not only add different doors and components to it, but to also change the height of the building. So depending upon where you score and snap the building, you can make it shorter and taller. And then the same thing is that there's an option to create sort of custom arrangements here. And so I suppose before I do anything else, I just need to make sure that I earmark all of the windows and doors correctly. So those two are done. There's a roller door for that one. There's a roller door for that one. The small vent goes up here. This incorrectly painted door goes here. So those are all the pieces for that one, which leaves one roller door and a couple other pairs of windows and doors here. So I think I'll just make a quick decision about that. I mean, one of the options is that I could make two bays on one end. And actually, I think I'm going to do that. Two bays on one end, which means that I've got these two pieces here that I can decide to leave blank or add some windows and doors to it. I suppose I could just add one door. And so in this case, yeah, I'll add one door. In this case, the way that it should work is that I just score this from behind, and if everything works out, I can insert a door. So let's give this a go and see if I can just quickly okay. And so that allegedly goes in there. I think I need to take the extra little bit off here. And then trim this up. Oh! RDG, you're back good. Now, of course, priming this before I made these trims means that the blue is a little bit visible. But since I'm going to go over these again this morning, I don't think that's the end of the world. And so that should be now, oh, probably a bit short. I probably cut it too short. Outstanding. Well, that one fits. Okay, so we're going to do a full door. Yeah, they might be the same. We're not going to get too fussed about that. So the option is, do I want to add any sort of door to this end here? I I suppose I could add this little roller door. It would fit between these two, so I think quickly I'll take care of that as well. RDK, yes, Pike stuff, yeah. I think I paid around $24, $25 for the kit, which was a reasonable trade for me. I mean, of course I would like things to be always a little less, but I think that this is that's a fair trade. And the building is actually quite adjustable. Originally I was thinking about trying to sort out a way to turn it into two buildings, because there's only going to be basically two sides of this visible at any one time. But then I feel like I'd also like to be able to rotate the building and show the backside at certain times. So I'm going to leave it the way it is. Certainly you could get two buildings out of it if you had some styrene. Okay, so there's the garage door added in. And I suppose I should add another people door. Actually, you know what? I'm going to leave it like that in case I want to do graffiti there. Okay, so I think we've got these sort of things roughly defined. Basically, what I want to do is start thinking about a paint job on the walls. And this is not particularly well planned at this point. What I do know is I would like these to be a greenish color, a greenish taupey color. Good morning, Mustache Mike. I'd like this to be a greeny taupey color, kind of like old pressure-treated siding. This has just got some flash from the mold, which that color may not be totally prototypical for this building. I was driving around taking pictures of other buildings with similar sidings on them, and certainly there is tan now. Blue is definitely one of the more prevalent colors. There's a lot of flash on this. But I'm going to turn it into something that's sort of a green color. That's what I would like. Okay, so for that, again, I'm making this up as I go along. I'm thinking about trying to come up with a greeny tan color. I recently did a building from Pike Stuff, the small local house, and made the building twice the length. Yes, that makes perfect sense. I love those Pike kits. Yeah, this is my first Pike kit. Wispy Creek. Did you find the abandoned warehouse? No, I did not go on a side quest yesterday. There's an abandoned warehouse. I think it's actually a steel mill near Hamilton that I had seen the weekend before, and I wanted to go back to it and take some pictures. And then I read a Reddit thread about it, which was talking about the hidden security cameras and such, and I rethought my decision. All right, so I am going to make a green paint, and I'm going to do so, let's give this a bit of a mix. I'm going to do this with a bit of yellow and black, and then I'm going to add it to tan. It is a little bright down here, isn't it? The building goes against the backdrop. I just cut a new wall from a sheet of 60 mil. Yeah, for sure. So I'm not sure if anyone had seen this little color hack. I was doing this when I was doing, and I'm sorry the white balance, pardon me, is so blown off. You can get a pretty decent green by mixing a deep yellow with a bit of black. Let's see if I can get this. And so you can see it there. And so this is one of the base colors I want to use to try to make this building look very neutral, really, at the end of the day. I don't want anyone to notice it, and so I want this to be a similar sort of coloring to like the walls and such, so that it's just background, it's not the foreground. Sickly yellow, yes. And so this is quite green, and I was looking through, and I have this color fawn, which I also like, and so I think if I can get them to what you might consider a similar saturation or chroma or whatever, I'm going to use them interchangeably so that it's like green and beige, and hopefully that gets to a place where the color is greenish, warmish, neutral. Again, making up as we go along. And I'm going to use this to protect my cutting mat here. Geez, I'm wondering, should I just glue the walls together at this point already? I think I should glue the walls together. Get some cardstock, it won't warp when you like thinner cardboard. Oh, okay. I'm going to glue these walls together before I do anything else. So for that, I just need a bit of, the way that I like to do it is using a bit of paper so that I don't wreck everything. So this would work with regular general purpose plastic solvent, but because I've painted it, it's not going to work quite the same, and so I'm just going to use a bit of super glue. I'm going to put these walls together first and then I'll paint them. They'll be dry in seconds. And the way that I find works the best is that I take a bit of CA and I will run that down the edge like that on top of some paper and bring that in beside it. And you can see the CA wicks around it. And I will cut off the excess and then clean it up in a second here. So that's one piece joined. So I put those two bays right close together or far apart. I think I'll put them close together. So same theme here. Oh, it's leaking. Oh, it's really leaking. Oh boy, hang on. Scraping the paint off the edges will help, for sure. This is just sort of, this nozzle is no good. Okay, well, we'll deal with that in a second. So get that off the mat. Okay, let's get these cleaned up rather quickly here. Okay, and now that it's, I'm just going to give it a little, I'm going to change this nozzle out. So what this is that this is thiacrylate adhesive. It's called super thin, and which means it flows like water. And that nozzle that I had on it is no good, so I'm going to give it another quick nozzle. And the nozzles are basically like a silicone or vinyl, which don't stick to the glue. And so you just sort of pressure fit them like so. And so now I have a very thin wicking glue if the nozzle doesn't break. Okay, this has got a little bit of a bend to it. I'm just going to put the smallest amount of CA into that groove. And down it goes. Okay, that's done. This is a bit of a mess. Let's get this cleaned up right now. Again, if anyone was looking for a planned episode this morning, this is just me hanging out with you guys trying to sort this out myself and gluing my fingers together, which is a pretty common. Okay. Okay, tidied up. There we go. Now we can get to the business of paint. Okay. Going to use this. Yep. And that CA is dry. Plans for, yeah, no, there's no point in having plans. Okay. All right, there's our pieces all glued together, nice and solid. Let's get to the business of paint. And for this, I'm going to use a combination of makeup sponges. And so again, I think this green is a decent start. I'm going to start putting it on. I'm going to start adding some beige. I'm going to use the makeup blenders to move it around. And a bit of tan. And see what color we get out of this. And I think I'll probably do more than one coat on this. So already that's starting to give that sort of pressure-treated lumber look. All right. It's a bit spotty, and so I'm going to go back over this, I think, at least one more time with the same approach. And in the meantime, I'll start working on painting in the windows. Okay. So those are the wall pieces. I would say that I don't mind the color. They're a little bit bright right now, but we'll get to that. Okay, so now I want to do the windows and doors. And rather than make them high contrast, and I've left them on the sprues to make it a little easier to hang on to, rather than make them high contrast, I just want them to be rather muted. And let me see. That is all the pieces. Oh, and I've got these corner pieces that I have to do as well. These, oh, those go with those. Still haven't figured out what these little guys are for. As I said, the instructions are a little bit lacking. And I'll sand those down later. Could just leave them gray. Yeah, I want to darken them a little bit. I think, so RDK, could leave them gray. I don't like that they're a bit lighter. I want to make them a bit darker. So I want the whole thing to feel really, what's the word I'm looking for? Sort of abandoned, I guess, really. Just a bit of gray on green onto these corner rods, which again took me a bit of time to figure out how the kit went together. It comes with some extra pieces, which adds to a bit of the confusion. Good morning off the mainline trains. Dirty and dingy. Thank you. Ah, yeah, for sure. So can I show the parts? I don't know what they are. So these rails here, I'm not exactly sure what these are for. These are extra pieces for roof lines, depending on how you do it. These are gluing pieces. Downspouts. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Right, because there are gutters built into this. Thank you, RDG. Let's get these just quickly sort of painted up with some green. So, as I was looking at newer buildings, not unlike this maintenance shed, I realized that we've really moved away from using white as a trim color into much darker colors. And so, because I want to keep the tones of this similar, what I'm thinking is that I will take some of the this green color that I'm using as the principal color for the sides, and I'm just going to darken it quite a bit with some black and make this sort of deep, maybe call it a bit of a gray, dark black, gray, green color. I don't mind that. I'm going to get a little bit darker. I think I might add a little bit of brown to it. So I'm not sure what it looks like on camera, but that's sort of the color I want. I'm just going to add a bit of brown to it just to make it a little more neutral. What's going on? Any idea what you're going to put on it once it's done and dry? So definitely I want to glue a bunch of signs. Definitely when this is done, I'll add some autumnal leaves to it so it has that sort of autumn feeling. Definitely I'm going to add maybe some little posters, some signs on it. I have lots of chain link fence that I've 3D printed, so I might lay some of that against it. Barrels and such. I had, using a bit of an inspiration, I had done a Japanese kit a little while ago, and I think the way that this turned out is sort of along the lines of what I want this to turn out like. So again, this was the blue color that the kit is, and I muted it right down. I sort of made it look ugly. There's what the roller doors look like. And so ultimately this is sort of like the look I want. So got to get a bit of brown here. Burn umber. Good morning, Trackside Mike. Mr. Trackside Mike was one of the people that I was fortunate enough to go see last weekend. So let's add a bit of the brown to this. And I'm still going to add a bit more black. So this is sort of like a weird, cool, gray, dark black color, and that's what we're going with. Now sponging might not be the best way. Let's try brushing and then taking it back off with the sponge. Oh, I think that's going to work better. Yep, that's the approach. So load on the color with the brush, smooth it out with the sponge. And this particular windows and doors, if insert from behind, so I don't have to worry about coloring up the sprue at all. And then of course the whole thing is going to get dumped on with an India ink wash, which will unify the colors even more. Yep, those look good. Kevin's Tiny Trims, I passed out midstream, so don't feel bad. Kevin, were you live last night? I think I saw that. Let's see if this white one paints up okay. So this is a good example about why primer matters. Let's see if I can get the light a little less bright. So I don't mind the color of the paint on the white one versus the gray one, but definitely now this is not the same as this. Now I could leave it like that so it's got a bit of contrast. We'll see how it goes. But let's bring the light back in. Kevin's Tiny Trims. Oh, 3 a.m. Yeah, so the primer matters. So had I primed this whole thing with an oxide, it would have turned out really differently. So everything's going to get 2 coats. So I'm going to move the windows off to the side. The way that the sponge has taken the paint back off, it gives it a little bit of a weathering. Going to go work on some wheel sensors at the club today for block detection. So I did have the privilege of visiting Mike at his club layout this weekend. Beautiful layout. That's fairly large space, hidden behind an unmarked door in the upper story of a rec center. Beautiful layout, lots of fun to run. I appreciate the opportunity to come down there. My first time using a proto throttle. Those, I can see why people spend a lot of money on those. It was awesome. And it was interesting to see a completely different approach to a layout. Their club layout, I would call a Class A layout. Lots of hidden staging, long trains, semi-fictional real destinations, you know, big freight hauling. It was very interesting. It's nice to see these different approaches to a layout. Loved it. I would hang out there any point in time. Okay, let's get back to the building paint. So, windows and doors have got 1 coat done. I'm going to come back to the walls and give them another coat to try to make them this muted, nasty color as well. I want one, going to wheel sensors, I want one, but I've heard that a big part of fun of proto throttles is the tuning of momentum on locomotives. Definitely that was, the momentum thing was new to me. And you had to work, so the throttle, okay, we're going to digress for a second. So the throttle does a lot of work for you, meaning that you've got, it sort of mimics the way that an actual cab is built, throwing the levers and such. But you have to be aware of it because, yeah, programming in the momentum, it's not easy just to do a dead stop. Like, it makes you work for it. And so working between the different notches and applying brake, it became a lot of fun. It becomes really fluid, and so you've got, like, running a joystick basically. You got both hands working at the same time to try to get things as smooth as possible. And it was a really nice challenge. It made operating them a lot simpler, but a lot more realistic, maybe, which is why people like them so much. Okay. So back into getting a nasty green color put together, this sort of toxic green. And then a bunch of this beige color with it. and then go to town. Are you planning the locomotive shops? I don't know if you're asking. Chris Scott, I don't know if you're asking me. I don't have any locomotive shops yet. Okay, so I think that is sort of the color that I want for these. So it's sort of rather dirty. It's a really sort of neutral green. It might be hard to see on the camera, but it moves around a little bit, like it's all sort of different colors. It looks unclean. And then really it's a matter of whether or not these windows are dark enough. I think they could use another blast of a darker color as well. And I think I'm going to go over them just with a bit of a grayed out tan color. So I'm using that original fawn color. A bit more black. So that's a pretty decent warm gray there. And I think I'm going to leave this one as the front door in that sort of light color, just to see what happens. So I just went and quickly brushed over another coat of the gray, and I'm just going to use the sponge to make sure there's no high spots or lumps or goops, and just sort of thin it out. Okay. So what do we think? Do I keep the door light? No, we're going to make it dark. I don't like it now. Done. Okay. Paper out. Evidence of work. I've got paint all over my hands. And so at this point, I think probably the best thing to do is for me to start installing the windows and doors, or the painted windows and doors. Good morning, Mr. Closet Branch. So I'm going to cut these off. Well, I probably should wait a little bit. I also have to figure out when I want to tackle the steel doors. You know what? I'm going to let this dry. I'm going to let the pieces dry a little bit more, and I'm going to start working on the roller doors, which I've got a little different approach for. So these bits are all ready to go. like so. Let's clean out the brush that I have. And I'm going to get this really dry. Because what I'm going to try to do is dry brush white onto the aluminum to dull it down. Is that your coffee mug? Close. We'll find out in a minute. This is why we use acrylic. So I'm going to dry brush white. This is called vintage white. It's not pure white. It's what I was able to grab. And I'm going to work on these aluminum roller doors right now. And so something I have found that's worked well in the past is to just, for me anyway, is just to dry brush, and it might be hard to see here, white over the aluminum, and it brings it down and takes the shine off of it. So it still looks galvanized. I don't know if you'll be able to see. No, it's too bright. That's the dry brushing that isn't. And so instead of looking like shiny metal, it looks a little more faded. And then when you add ink washes to it, it brings out the details of the door itself. And maybe I'll add some ink washes to this to see what happens. I do have some panel liner here, and maybe that would be good to add. Gonna keep bunging away at those. Okay, let's get some doors and windows. Let's do the two tall ones first. So these get inserted into here. And there was wet paint on the workbench. So it might be all right, well, the color's good. It's just too bad I got some paint on the front of this. I just remember something, I think Toronto Vigo Transit train wash, but 100% of them, yes. Ah, Chris Scott, yes. So there is a wash, sorry, I was lost in what you were trying to say. Yes, there is a wash bay on the Via Rail side, and my understanding it's currently not in use, and there is potentially a new wash bay coming. I'm just going to put that down and push in the other window from behind. Yeah, so I like the way that that is muted into it. Interestingly, the kit doesn't come with any sort of glazing, which is not the end of the world, but just pointing out that it's not actually a kit with any sort of glazing in it. So let's add in these windows. And these fit quite snugly. Now that might be because I have primed them already. That'll disappear in the wash. Oh, let's see. I'm going to use some nippers to knock these down. Yeah, I mean, these are perfectly snug fits. I will come in and use a bit of CA from behind to make sure they are perfectly installed, but yeah, okay. So the colors are looking a little more weathered and natural. So this is taking it halfway around the process for me. And let's see what this front door looks like. Oh, just look at the color, just wipes right off because it. So the paint is. I'm gonna give it a go like that. See what happens. Now this came with some signs. I'm not going to use those. You know what? I think I'm going to leave the white. It's different. I'm down with that. Okay. Or not. Nope. Not doing it. Uh-oh. Yeah, right? Let's have this guy. Okay. So the only thing I haven't added is some of this aluminum. And what I want to try is a bit of panel liner in this to see if I can make it a little nastier. Now I do have a brown panel liner. You have to shake this within an inch of its life. And I'm going to try a little bit of panel liner on this before I insert one into the front. But overall, I'm really happy with the color of this. So the beep, beep, beep is because my overhead camera has decided that it needs to think for a few minutes. So we're going to leave that charging, which certainly makes working like this a little bit troubling. So I've used a bit of panel liner. Let's see. And it's brought out all the details on this vent and made it look kind of rusty. That was the brown. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try the dark on the other one and see which one I like. Scott Rails has been having a problem with his cams lately. So for those interested, so I have a old GoPro, and it works. It's plugged in. It's charging as it goes, and basically the battery will run down just a bit faster than it can recharge. And so when it's dead, it really does need to get charged back up, but then it will sustain itself for quite some time. I'll give this a couple seconds and it might come back. So I realize you can't see what I did in the last one, but I'm going to put the dark one on and see if the camera boots back up. So this is a dark brown panel liner. So the other one I have is a light brown panel liner, and this is a dark brown panel liner. And we'll see how we feel about this one, which is also, this is really awesome as well. That might be a bit dark, but I'm going to wipe it off, and I'll show you what happens in a second here. Here we go. See if this works. Works really poorly. Anyway, it's there. Let's see if we can't get this guy back online. Voila. Okay. So this is a bit of panel liner added to the aluminum paint that I dry brushed with some white, and you can see it's run into the corners on it. It's flickering now. And this one's done with the brown. So I like the brown a bit better, but this does look like a roller door. So that's good. So I'm going to insert this one into the front door. And there's a bit of flash on this one as well I need to clean off. It's a hard color to film or video, but getting there. You can see the camera blinks every once in a while right now. Let's see what this door looks like. Oh, there's a bit of flash on this door, that's why. Okay. Bit more. Speaking of Scott Rails, the last time I spoke to him, I was fortunate enough to run into him in person, and definitely, I actually don't understand how he's able to make his camera setup work. He's got a lot of cameras running at the same time, and I've had real challenges getting anything similar to run, so I'm usually limited to 3 basic cameras. Okay. So there's the front door inserted. I can tell that this isn't showing up well for you guys, but there's a lot of variation in the color. Everything looks old and sort of weathered. And so I think once I put on a wash and get the details popping out, this is going to be exactly what I want, which is a really muted structure. So if we compare it to the brightness of the original, which is light blue, this is exactly what I want, which is something that is going to disappear. And then I am going to put colored ivies on it, orange leaves and such, and I think that those will stand out really beautifully against this sort of muted color, which is really what I want here. maybe as a sort of final last little act here, I'll get the corner posts mounted on this. So these are the corner posts, which simply go on right. And what I will do with this particular building is that once I have all four sides together and before I put the roof on, I'm probably going to take so I'm going to wash the whole, actually I'm going to put the whole thing together. I'll do one final little touch-ups with the muted colors all over to make sure there's no strange edges. Then what I'll do is I will give it a wash with some India ink to bring out all the details. And then the very final step is I will airbrush that same India ink along the bottom of the top to give it a lot of distressing. And I'll probably record most of that. So little run of CA against, if you put this kit together as it came in the box, you wouldn't need to use CA. And so yeah, so because I got CA on everything, it sort of took off some of the paint. Okay, that's okay. And this is why. So that's fixed up. I have to get the doors inserted properly as well. Add a little wick under. And then the idea is that this then fits into the groove that's right there. So that is the after, and there is the before. So at this point, what I'm thinking is that I want to clean out all my paintbrushes. I want to get the workbench cleared off. Take a look at these parts because I'm trying to do two things at once here. Set it aside, and then I will start assembling it all together. And when I do it, like as I glue the parts together that are pre-painted, I'll still take a run at it with the emery board to clean up all the edges and keep putting it together. And then, as I said, I will go back and do one sort of final touch-up with a sponge and some color before I start weathering it. And I think the thing that I'm maybe used to is that this doesn't look real hot, meaning the paint is muddled, the paint is sort of like nasty, it's not a nice clean finish like an airbrush finish. And I think that can be rather disarming for someone who's, wants it to look correct. I want this to look terrible, so I'm to a certain extent trusting the process that the fact that it looks poor is going to look great later. But I still need to sort of take a bit of a pause and say, so where are we at with this? And how do I think it's progressing? So I like the color, I like the building, I'm really happy with the kit. As I said, the before and after, I think this is going to be a great addition to the layout. But I think, knowing myself, that I basically have CA on 4 fingertips, I've got paint on 9 fingertips, that I should pause, I should clean up, I should lay this all out and attack it and continue on it, I guess I should say, later today. Which means that this is probably a really great place to pause for this morning. What are we at? We're at 10 o'clock exactly. So yeah, I mean, I appreciate everyone for swinging by this morning to hang out with me. Haphazard, totally unplanned, but I think the building's coming along great. I'll have this finished up by the end of the week and it'll be on the layout, and I'll take some pictures. It'll be sitting in front of sitting in front of my passenger platforms, that's also coming up. My passenger platforms are completely installed. The car barn girders are all installed. I would say that's the one thing I'm super impressed about. Like, I really like it. I'm super happy with it. It turned out. It was in the works for about 2 years to get to this point. So I will finish that up. You'll get to see that soon too. So it's happy Sunday, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope everybody has an awesome rest of the weekend and a week ahead. And I believe this coming Thursday is GVO After Dark, although we don't know if that's going to happen because Chris is putting out a number of videos. I think he has a reefer video he put out this morning for a review. And I will be on next Thursday. And probably 9 out of 10 chance I'm going to start working on my Union Station, which is probably going to be about a month-long build. But we're going to start it next Thursday. Anyway, take care, everybody. Have a great night or morning, and thanks for stopping by.